So David Adeleye is fighting Filip Hrgović on the undercard of Moses Ituama versus Dillian Whyte. Now, this was a fight that was made a while ago, and I did make a video about this at the time, but I did want to sort of just revisit the whole fight, because the closer we get to that fight, the more I'm sort of starting to change my pick and starting to favour David Adeleye a bit more now. Because I'm looking at Filip Hrgović, and I look at his last two fights. Obviously, of course, he had the Daniel Dubois loss, his two most notable recent fights, the Daniel Dubois loss, and of course Dubois has some similarities to David Adeleye, where they're both big punchers, right? They're both explosive punchers. I do think David Adeleye is probably slightly quicker, slightly more athletic. He is smaller though, but still equally a very big puncher for the division, right? And has got the potential to knock out anyone's lights, no doubt, right? And you've got Filip Hrgović, who, yeah, like I said, Daniel Dubois, and also his last fight against Joe Joyce, which he pretty convincingly beat Joe Joyce. Now, Joe Joyce is, in my opinion, still quite a big puncher. Lost a ton of speed, far removed from his prime. And Filip Hrgović pretty convincingly outboxed him and beat him. And I look at that, that does give me some hope, because even though, of course, David Adeleye, I think, is better than Joe Joyce at this point, Filip Hrgović still needs to go out there and show that he can take some of Joe Joyce's shots, bite down, and still continue to stick to the game plan and outbox him and go on to win that 12-round fight. I think it was a 10 or 12-round fight. Whereas David Adelaye's last fight, of course, he fought Jamie TKV in a fight which, in my opinion, he was losing. He was losing that fight, in my opinion, and then he pulls out the punch that was arguably an illegal punch. You know, in my opinion, I think it was illegal, but there's some people that say otherwise, right? Despite that, he knocked out Jamie TKV and won, or I don't know if he was the British champion before, but won or retained the British Heavyweight Championship, right? He's now going on to fight Filip Hrgović. Now, that does kind of prove my point where, like I said, David Adeleye can be losing a fight. He can be losing a fight and still go out there and get the big knockout, which is a talent that not many heavyweights have got, not many boxers have got. You know, a lot of these boxers are great when it's going in their favour and they're able to apply pressure and let their hands go. But when you're in adversity and you're down a number of rounds and you've been outboxed and you're being outboxed, to go out there and get that big punch knockout is not easy to do. Right, it's not easy to do when you're under the cosh. And David Adeleye showed that he could do that against Jamie TKV. Now, like I said, Filip Hrgović, in my opinion, is a far better boxer than Jamie TKV. So doing it against Jamie TKV and doing it against Filip Hrgović are two different things. Right, two different things, because Filip Hrgović has got a far more extensive amateur background and, well, of course, a far more extensive pro background as well, pro experience as well, where, in my opinion, the advantages of having all that experience is that you've seen basically everything. Like, you've seen big punches. You fought Joe Joyce, you fought Daniel Dubois, you've seen big punches. Right? Like I said, I do think out of those three guys, David Adeley's probably got the fastest in terms of hand speed. And that's something for Hrgović to look out for. And I think he should. You game plan for these sorts of things. Like, I'm no Freddie Roach. I'm no Floyd Mayweather Senior. I'm not a boxing sort of mastermind. If I can see that, no doubt Filip Hrgovic's camp can see that, and they'll be game planning for that, right? That being said, like I was saying about David Adeleye, where getting that knockout punch when you're under the cosh, that's a serious ability. And like I was saying previously, not many heavyweights can actually do that. He's got that. And you've got Filip Hrgović, who has been stopped before by Daniel Dubois, who's a big puncher, like David Adeleye. David Adeley's not as big of a puncher, but he's just as quick. Right? Just as quick. So you're sort of looking at it and thinking, well, if anyone can pull off another knockout victory over Filip Hrgović, David Adeleye might be the guy. Right? David Adeleye very well may be the guy. Right? But it's hard, because when I'm in these situations, I always just tend to go for who is punch for punch the better boxer. That's who I go for. But in this situation and in these types of fights, it's not always that simple, because David Adeley's younger, less miles on the clock. He's going to be hungry for that knockout win. I mean, for both guys, it's 100% a must-win fight, because both guys need to win this fight to advance to that next level, right? If Filip Hrgović loses to David Adeleye and he's already lost to Daniel Dubois, then he's sort of out of the world title picture for a very long time now, right? He's not even in the world title picture yet. But a win over David Adeleye sort of gets you back into those sort of conversations. And now you're looking at maybe a Fabio Wardley fight, or a Bacoli fight, or any of these sorts of fights that I favour Filip Hrgović in. I think Filip Hrgović is one of the best boxers in the heavyweight division, and was avoided for a long time before Daniel Dubois fought him. Right, was avoided by the top heavyweights for a while. There's a reason for that, right? But I'm saying all of this, and it sounds like maybe I'm not even changed my mind about this fight. Maybe I still think maybe I still think Filip Hrgović is going to win this fight. But that punch power was something, man. And Filip Hrgović is no spring chicken at this point. Like I'm saying, how his experience is a good thing. His experience also can count against you in fights as well, because experience means miles on the clock. That's really what it means as well. It means IQ. It means you've seen everything, but it also means miles on the clock, right? So I'd be curious to know what you guys think of this fight. Of course, both guys, like I said, it's must win for both guys because they both need this win to sort of go on to that next level. But yeah, super curious to know what you guys think of this fight in the comments below. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.